For 3 decades, I battled flames in burning buildings, dealing with warped beams, crumbling floors, suffocating smoke so thick it obscured visibility even of one's own hand. I rescued children from fires and held the hands of those taking their last breaths. Yet nothing prepared me for the shocking discovery I made in my wife's office on a Tuesday evening. My name is Garrett Hollies. I'm 55 years old and recently retired from the fire department after serving for 3 decades. Melinda and I have been married for 12 years, and I believed I knew exactly how I wanted to spend the next phase of my life. However, I was mistaken about many things. Allow me to transport you back to the start, not to the end's commencement, but the genuine start. The point where I made the decision that eventually safeguarded everything I had worked for. I encountered Melinda at her lowest ebb. Her clothing boutique had experienced a catastrophic collapse, leaving her drowning in debt and on the brink of bankruptcy. She was 46 and I was 43. Her tenacity captivated me. She didn't require aid. Instead, she labored tirelessly at a real estate office, striving to extricate herself from debt. I assisted her not financially but emotionally, offering her a source of support and someone who had faith in her rejuvenation. In 2 years, she obtained her real estate license and was flourishing. Upon my proposal, she wept, consenting before I completed the question. We conversed about our future, aging gracefully together, constructing a life. The topic of the prenuptial agreement arose. I approached it delicately, clarifying that with 3 decades in the department, my pension was substantial and I desired to ensure our security, maintaining clarity. Melinda's expression altered. She deemed it unromantic, suggesting it indicated a lack of trust in her. On the verge of retreating, my mother called. She was terminally ill. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer, the doctors gave her mere weeks. From her hospital bed, she seized my hand with unexpected strength and uttered words I'd never forget. "Garrett," she said, "your father lost everything in his first marriage, absolutely everything. He lived out his final years in a small apartment subsisting on canned soup because he believed someone undeserving. Avoid his error, protect yourself." 11 days later, she passed away. I arranged for the prenuptial agreement to be drafted within days. When I presented it to Melinda, I allowed her 2 weeks to scrutinize it. I offered to pay for an independent attorney to review it with her. She declined, asserting that she didn't require a lawyer to confirm what she already knew. We were destined to remain together forever. She signed it on my kitchen table one Sunday afternoon, in the presence of my neighbor Delia, who had come over to return a casserole dish. Retired as a court stenographer after 35 years, Delia's old habits persisted. She always said they were hard to shake off. 12 years ago, I wasn't aware of it at the time, but she made personal notes that day, including the date, time, and details about Melinda's behavior, her laughter, and the words she said. "They're happy now, can we go back to planning the wedding?" Over the subsequent years, those notes would prove invaluable. I thought things were fine or even good at the time. Melinda's real estate career flourished. She joined forces with a young agent named Corey Braddock, and their listings became prevalent in the luxury market. She worked long hours, which coincided with my shifts, occasional firefighting, and pension growth about 2 years before retirement. Just before that, Melinda began asking detailed questions. About my pension options, the monthly payout amount, whether I knew you could select a higher payment if opting for the single life option, an option where the larger check was offered, but upon death, the payments ceased entirely, leaving no benefits to a spouse or anyone else she mentioned. At first, it began casually. Then more frequently, she started placing brochures on the kitchen counter, highlighting certain options with a pen. I didn't give it much thought at the time, thinking perhaps she was merely being practical. Fast forward to my retirement celebration. After 30 years of service, my colleagues threw me an event at the station complete with a cake shaped like a fire truck and more jokes than I could keep count. Melinda smiled for photos, kissed my cheek, played the perfect supportive wife. 2 weeks later, our anniversary approached, 12 years together. I wanted to surprise her, so I booked a trip to Hawaii, first-class tickets, and oceanfront suite. I thought I'd stop by her office with flowers, hoping to catch her between clients and see that smile I fell for. It was around 7:30 in the evening. Her car was in the lot. The office lights were on. I approached with a bouquet of roses, feeling quite pleased with myself. The sensation of triumph when one has labored diligently, secured a peaceful retirement, and is poised to astound one's spouse with an extraordinary vacation. I failed to cross the threshold. The frosted glass revealed 2 silhouettes. The figures were undeniable. The desk was hers. The man wasn't me. For a moment, I couldn't inhale. 30 years of charging into infernos, and this is what left me breathless. Automatically, my hand acted. I lifted my phone and captured a photograph through the glass. The images were hazy but discernible. Then I retreated quietly, climbed into my truck, and drove home. I spent an hour in my garage with the engine off, wilting flowers adorning the passenger seat, and then something within me altered. I didn't experience anger. Instead, I felt understanding, as if all the minor puzzles that had eluded me suddenly fit together neatly: the pension quandaries, the solitary living brochures, the way she'd been nudging me towards retirement for 2 years. I began to investigate. Overseeing our household computer, I discovered deleted browser history revealing consultations with 3 distinct divorce lawyers spanning 18 months. This indicates that she had been concocting this separation for a year and a half, while sleeping beside me night after night. The legal consultations provided clarity, as I also uncovered draft emails and saved notes detailing her strategy. She intended to argue the prenup's unenforceability, claiming it was signed under duress, asserting that I had pressured her without giving her time to review it or providing independent counsel, all falsehoods. However, what struck me most was the timing. She planned to file for divorce once I selected my pension payout option, specifically the irrevocable single life option, which she had been advocating for. In doing so, she aimed to claim half of our assets, and since I chose the option without a survivor benefit, she calculated that I would eventually die with no possessions left to anyone. Over 3 decades of work, I faced a dilemma when addressing her inquiry: confront, yell, or throw things, or take the long route. I opted for the latter. The first step was the pension trap. Upon receiving my retirement documents, I pretended to weigh various options with Melinda, seeming indecisive, allowing her to steer me towards the single life option. Instead, I picked the 100% survivor benefit option, ensuring regular pension payments for my chosen beneficiary if I pass away. I altered that beneficiary from Melinda to Emma, who had been like a daughter to me after losing my parents, and was my remaining family with genuine affection for me beyond financial matters. When signing the papers, Melinda wasn't present, and I ensured she never saw the final decision. The second phase involved gathering evidence. In previous agreements, Melinda's car was registered under my name due to her damaged credit, allowing me to exercise control over it. Installed a high-quality dash cam that recorded audio and video for 3 months, documenting every discussion between Melinda and Corey within the vehicle, including their schemes, laughter at my expense, as well as certain remarks I could not unhear, such as Corey mentioning he would grant half his pension upon which we could finally start anew, possibly that house in Sedona you showed me. I also overheard Melinda say, "The fool believes I truly cared for him. I cherished his benefits package." Their conversation further revolved around timelines and strategies. If required, she would shed tears on the stand. Corey would testify as a character witness regarding my allegedly demanding and controlling nature as a husband. The next 3 months were filled with time-stamped recordings, all admissible evidence. Phase 3 involved securing the prenup, as I was aware that Melinda's entire case hinged on having it invalidated. She would claim duress, assert pressure was exerted upon her. To bolster my position, I approached Delia, my elderly neighbor and a retired court stenographer who had witnessed Melinda sign the prenup. At 82 years old, she was still mentally sharp. Upon explaining the situation, her eyes hardened, and I took detailed notes that day. She habitually recorded everything, having done so for 35 years. She retrieved a small notebook with yellowed pages but still legible writing. In it were the date, time, a description of Melinda's cheerful demeanor, direct quotes, the offer and refusal of independent counsel, the 2-week review period, and more, all contemporaneous notes from a retired court stenographer. In the courtroom, after amassing all necessary documents, I endured a 3-week wait before Melinda filed for divorce on a Friday. She served me at home, a move she deliberately planned for maximum embarrassment. Her demands were exorbitant: half of my pension, the house, lifelong spousal support, my cherished classic car collection amassed over 2 decades, and the prenuptial agreement she claimed was invalid due to duress, signed under coercion without a chance to review or legal counsel. Every claim she made was false, I discovered later. To challenge this, I sought help from Judith Crane, a formidable family lawyer in her 60s who had been friends with my mother through their book club. Known for her fearsome reputation in the county, she didn't need to advertise. Her clients came via hushed recommendations from those who'd witnessed her work. When I presented my evidence, she smiled for the first time since our encounter. "Garrett," she said, "this is going to be enjoyable." On a bleak November morning, Melinda attended court with a subdued appearance, dressed modestly, minimal makeup and clutching tissues. Corey was present for support in the gallery. Confidently, Melinda's lawyer depicted me as a dominating spouse who had coerced a distressed woman into relinquishing her rights, emphasizing the power disparity in our relationship, stating that Melinda was susceptible when we first met, and I exploited this vulnerability. However, Judith stood to address the court. I'd like to introduce evidence revealing Mrs. Holly's entire case as intentionally fabricated fraud. She began with Delia's testimony. My elderly neighbor, Delia, testified in detail about the prenuptial agreement signing. Melinda's jovial disposition, her rejection of independent legal advice, the 2-week review period she was granted, and her statement, "They're happy now, can we go back to wedding planning?" were all detailed. Melinda's lawyer objected, but the judge overruled. Carrie Waite's contemporaneous notes from a former court stenographer. The first recording played featured Melinda stating, "He mistakenly believed I genuinely cared for him. I valued his benefits package." The room fell silent. Next was Corey detailing their plan, including the Sedona house, timeline, and new beginning financed by his 30 years of service. The third recording captured Melinda joking about crying on the stand if needed. By the time the fifth recording played, Melinda's attorney had his head in his hands. Finally, Judith presented the decisive evidence. "Your Honor, I request to submit as evidence the pension selection documents signed by Mr. Hollies." Mrs. Hollies assumed her husband chose the single life option without survivor benefit. Instead, he opted for a 100% survivor benefit option, with Emma Hollies listed as beneficiary. If Hollies had triumphed, she wouldn't have acquired anything from the pension. It would have been entirely Emma's upon Mr. Hollies' demise. I glanced at Melinda, scrutinizing her closely. Her face was ashen, a balled-up tissue in her clenched fist ignored. She turned to search for Corey in the gallery but found his seat vacant. He'd absconded around recording number 3. The judge's decision was firm, the prenuptial agreement honored completely. Owing to evidence of fraud and deliberate financial misconduct, all marital possessions were assigned to me according to the state's marital misconduct provision. Melinda was ordered to pay my legal fees, exiting that courtroom with nothing more than the garments on her back and a soon-to-be valueless real estate license following news of her deeds. Yet, the tale didn't cease there. A week after the verdict, my dashcam recorded one final exchange. I neglected to take it out of Melinda's car, which legally remained mine before she discarded her belongings. Corey's voice. "Mel, we need to discuss something. I've met someone, a widow I've been collaborating with. She owns properties in 3 different states. You were never the ultimate goal, my dear. You were merely a stepping stone." I secretly forwarded the recording to Melinda's new residence, and poetic justice falls short of expressing it adequately. I sold the house, most of the cars, keeping my favorite, a '68 Mustang that belonged to my father. With the proceeds, I bought a cabin located 45 minutes from Emma and her family. These days, I contribute to the local fire department, instructing elementary school children about fire safety, and have dinner with Emma every Sunday. I have a dog called Chief who doesn't concern himself with pension plans or premarital contracts. Last month, I encountered Delia at the supermarket. She was purchasing prune juice and crossword puzzle books. Upon seeing me, her face brightened. "Garrett Hollies," she exclaimed. "How's your retired life?" "Better than I deserve," I responded, to which she agreed. "You truly deserved every bit of it, just as Delia did what she deserved." This isn't me being unkind, it's a matter of fairness. I laughed, a genuine and extended laugh that I could not recall having before, and here's the lesson I learned. Trust is a valuable asset. When someone misuses this gift against you, you are under no obligation to endure their attack. You have no duty to be noble or to submit to defeat. Sometimes, the wisest course of action is to outsmart the person trying to undermine you. The wisdom my mother imparted proves true: guard oneself constantly. Yet something she didn't mention might be essential: surround yourself with those who genuinely care. For me, Emma, Chief, and a cabin with a mountainous vista are companions now. Melinda's life is empty, while Corey moved on to prey upon another soul like mine. At long last, I find tranquility. After 3 decades of battling infernos, the most challenging one to extinguish was the blaze within my own household, but I have successfully doused it. Documents attest to this victory.